This boy is the son of Zeus god, but he hates him. But one day Zeus's brother leaves Kraken behind. Will he survive? Watch full video to see this. The movie opens with the story of Zeus, the god who created humans. They had magical powers. Zeus had two other brothers, one Poseidon who ruled the sea, but Zeus's third brother Hades was the king of hell. Zeus lived in heaven. Hades hated Zeus. Now a man is shown fishing. He finds a box in his fishing net. When he opens it, there is a girl and her baby inside. The girl was dead. He adopts the baby. The baby is named Perseus. As Perseus grew up, he worked as a fisherman like his father. His family lived on the same boat. The fisherman also had a wife and a daughter. One day, Perseus is fishing when he sees a very large statue on a nearby island. The statue was of Zeus, who was the king of heaven. Some soldiers destroy the statue and it falls into the sea. Just then, flying creatures emerge from the water. These creatures kill the soldiers who destroyed Zeus's statue. These creatures join together and then change their shape and become Hades. Hades was Zeus's brother, who was the king of hell. Hades sees Perseus and attacks his boat and overturns it. Perseus's family dies by drowning in the water. Only Perseus survives. Then we are shown Hades. He meets Zeus and says that humans should be taught a lesson. Because they tried to break Zeus's statue, he suggests a solution that he can send the monster named Kraken to scare humans. Hades had created Kraken with his magic. As soon as this happens, humans will start asking for help from Zeus. Help from humans gives gods power, which makes them immortal. Perseus is rescued by some soldiers and taken to meet the king. The king is having a party. The king's wife says that they no longer need Zeus. They are gods now. Hades arrives at this moment. He uses his black magic to age the queen. The queen starts to age rapidly and then dies. Hades says that he will release his monster Kraken to attack the city in 10 days. If they want to save their lives, they must sacrifice the king's daughter Andromeda. The monster will stop when it has finished with Andromeda. Perseus raises his sword to kill Hades, because Hades has killed his family. But a girl stops Perseus. Hades is shocked to see Perseus again and he leaves. Meanwhile, Zeus learns that Perseus is alive and he is his son. A man named Draco, who works for the king, asks Perseus how he knows Hades. And then he puts Perseus in jail. A girl comes to visit Perseus in jail. She is the same girl who stopped Perseus from raising his sword. Her name is Io. She does not age. She tells Perseus that he is Zeus's son, he is half human and half god. In fact, many years ago, there was a king named Acrisius. He tried to fight Zeus, so Zeus took revenge by having an intimate relationship with the king's wife. Zeus had changed his form. He was in the king's disguise. Acrisius's wife had a son. When Acrisius found out, he threw his wife and the child in a box and threw them into the sea. Zeus burned Acrisius's face with lightning. Perseus was half-god, so he survived but his mother died. Io tells Perseus that he can defeat the Kraken monster. They must meet the witches who live in the mountains who can tell them how to kill Kraken. Draco, Perseus, and the rest of the soldiers set out to meet the witches. They will kill Kraken and save the princess. They meet two brothers on the way who have experience killing magical creatures. They both join their group. Hades meets Acrisius. Acrisius's face was burned, so he lived in a basement, hiding from people. Hades tells him that he killed his wife for no reason, but Perseus is still alive. Hades makes Acrisius powerful with his magic so that he can kill Perseus and take revenge on Zeus, who burned his face. Now we see Perseus and his people. They are resting in the forest. Io was following them all in the forest. Perseus catches fish for his companions. Draco sees and says that Perseus needs to be an expert in swords. He only catches fish. Draco trains Perseus in fencing. Zeus was keeping an eye on them by turning into a bird. He leaves his sword for Perseus. When Perseus was walking in the forest, he saw a shining sword. The sword grew longer as it came into Perseus's hand, but Perseus threw it away. He did not need any help from Zeus. Then Perseus saw a black horse in the middle of the forest, with wings. That is, the horse could fly. Io tells Perseus that the horse and the sword are a gift from Zeus. Draco's men were searching for Perseus in the jungles. Suddenly, Acrisius arrived and attacked those men. Acrisius was powerful. He pursued Perseus and attempted to strike his head. At that moment, Draco cut Acrisius's hand with his sword. Frightened, Acrisius fled towards the mountains, with Perseus and Draco following him. The ground was stained with black blood from Acrisius's hands. Due to his magic, scorpions that dwelled in the earth emerged, larger than humans. These scorpions attacked Perseus's group. One scorpion tried to sting Perseus with its tail, but he blocked it with his shield. Io threw a rope and cut off the scorpion's tail. Draco leaped onto one of the scorpions. His sword was small, so he couldn't penetrate the scorpion's body. Draco instructed a companion to throw a spear. The spear was long, and it pierced the scorpion's body, killing it. Suddenly, strange creatures appeared. Seeing them, the scorpions ceased their attack. A soldier explained that these creatures are called jinn, and they use dark magic to stop the scorpions. The jinn live in the desert and have lived for thousands of years. When Perseus fights, he feels pain. While fighting, a scorpion stung him. Due to poison, Perseus's hand turns black. Then the genie heals Perseus's hand with its magic and a strange light emits from his sword. Others think that the genie will harm Perseus, but he doesn't. The next day, Perseus and the others have to cross a desert. The genie uses its dark magic to control the scorpions, allowing everyone to climb over the scorpions and cross the desert, saving time. Perseus and the others reach a place where enchantresses live. They go up a mountain where they encounter 3 enchantresses. These enchantresses don't have eyes, they hold someone else's eyes in their hands, which enables them to see anyone's future. Perseus asks them for a way to defeat the Kraken, and the enchantresses say they want something in exchange for this information. When Perseus refuses, the enchantresses capture one of his companions and demand a sacrifice from him. Perseus took the eyes of the sorceresses. He said he would throw the eyes down the mountain. After this threat, the sorceresses reluctantly revealed information about the Kraken. They said to kill the Kraken, they would have to find a monster named Medusa. Anyone who looks at Medusa turns into stone, and she resides in the Medusa hell. Medusa. Then they were relaxing after leaving from there. At that time, Zeus met Perseus, who was in the guise of a beggar, and advised him to come to heaven. Perseus refused, upon which Zeus gave him a coin that would aid him in his journey to the underworld. Then Zeus transformed into an eagle and returned to heaven. Then we were shown Princess Andromeda, who was feeding poor children. A priest tried to incite the city's people that there is only one way to stop the Kraken, to sacrifice Andromeda, which could save thousands of lives. Andromeda was witnessing all this. Io led Perseus and the others to a mountain where the path to the hell was. There they found a pond, crossing which they could reach Medusa. Perseus flips a coin to decide whether they should swim across the water or wait for a boat. Then, the genie snatches the coin from Perseus and throws it into the water. As soon as they became a monster, she was a priestess in the temple of Zeus. Medusa was very beautiful, so she tried to seduce Poseidon, who was Zeus's brother, so that he would take her to heaven. Poseidon's wife, who was a goddess, saw this and turned Medusa into a monster so that anyone who looked at her would turn to stone. The people go to a temple where Medusa lives. Lava is flowing under the temple. There they see many dolls that had come to kill Medusa, but turned to stone. Then they hear the sound of Medusa's laughter. She shoots arrows and attacks them. 2 soldiers and the genie fall into the lava, but Perseus jumps and saves the genie. They are both hanging in the air. Draco is hit by an arrow in the chest. When he pulls the arrow out of his chest, he sees Medusa's tail. The 2 soldiers who are with Perseus chase Medusa. She attacks from the ceiling. Her body was like snakes. She suddenly appears in front of a soldier and her eyes flash, turning the soldier to stone. Perseus and the genie follow behind. Perseus comes up with a plan that he will distract her, and when Medusa follows him, the genie will kill her. When Perseus runs behind Medusa, she attacks him. Medusa grabs Jinn with her tail and tries to turn him into stone, but the Jinn remains unaffected due to his dark magic. The Jinn blasts his heart injuring Medusa. Then Draco arrives, jumps onto a large boulder, causing it to fall due to his weight, and enters Medusa's tail. Medusa can't move and turns Draco into stone. Perseus sees the reflection inside Medusa's shield, which is made of metal, and finds a way to defeat her. Perseus attacks seeing the reflection of Medusa in the shield. Medusa frees her tail. Perseus jumps towards Medusa, beheads her using his sword, causing the remaining body to dissolve in lava. Perseus keeps Medusa's head in a bag and leaves the temple, where Io awaits him. Then Acrisius arrives and impales Io's abdomen with a sword. Perseus fights him, but his sword breaks upon collision with Acrisius' sword. Perseus then uses Zeus' sword and, while battling, both reach a mountain. He thrusts the magical sword into Acrisius. Acrisius' face began to heal and he fell down the pit. Perseus went back and held Io. Io told him that he had to hurry, because the Kraken would wake up at sunset. Just then, Perseus saw the black horse that Zeus had sent. He rode it to kill the Kraken. Hades released the Kraken. The Kraken came out of the sea. It had many tentacles. Meanwhile, Andromeda prepares to sacrifice herself so that her people can be saved. She goes to the priest who incited the people. The priest ties Andromeda to a pillar. The Kraken starts destroying the entire city with its hands. The king goes with his soldiers to save Andromeda. Hades meets Zeus. Zeus begins to weaken. Hades wants Zeus to die on his own, but Zeus reminds him of Perseus that he will stop the Kraken. Perseus is near the city where the Kraken was attacking. Hades suddenly appears in front of Perseus and turns into a flying creature. One of the creatures snatches the bag from Perseus which had Medusa's head. Perseus jumps off his horse and catches the creature. They both fall on the temple where Andromeda was being sacrificed. The creature falls into the fire and burns to death. Kraken sees them and approaches Andromeda. Perseus quickly rushes to Kraken and places the head of Medusa in front of it. As soon as Kraken sees Medusa, Medusa's eyes flash and Kraken begins to turn to stone. Kraken's body begins to crumble. The priest who was going to sacrifice Andromeda tries to kill Perseus, but the king arrives in time to stop him and then the pieces of Kraken's body fall on them, killing them both. Now stones are falling everywhere and they cause Andromeda to fall into the water. Hades appears before Perseus. Perseus shows him the sword, so Hades says that he is a god and cannot be killed by any weapon. But he was weakened by the death of Kraken. Then lightning strikes Perseus' sword and it begins to shine. Perseus throws the sword at Hades. Zeus sends Hades back to the underworld. Perseus jumps into the sea to save Andromeda. They are both on a beach. Perseus' horse wakes him up. Andromeda tells Perseus that he can become king by marrying her, but Perseus refuses. He wants to live a normal life. In the end, Zeus meets Perseus. Zeus asks Perseus to go back to heaven, where Perseus can become immortal, but Perseus refuses. As Zeus leaves, he gives Perseus another gift. He brings Io back to life. And that's where the movie ends.